Hello, everybody. My name is Juan Miguel Mota II, and I appreciate you for joining me here today on my video that I'm sorry I've kept you all waiting on. It's probably only 20 of you who've seen the video on why translation of the Bible matters. I'll give you a quick rundown. This book here, New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs, U.S. Army War College, IBS, right? This one is a New International Version, okay? So we're just going to lay them out on the table. Right there. This one of my favorites, to be honest with you. I'm planning on getting a second copy. Yep, don't need no further explanation than that. This one I got from a thrift store. And I'm telling you, guys, there's lots of abandoned books at thrift stores. But damn, there's a lot more Bibles in particular. This one was made in, I think, 69. I don't know, that's what the dating says. Let me just show you. Okay. So, there you go. You got Nella Arlene Sitter. On Christmas, the date is 10 years old, so probably giving it to this kid right here, John U. Sitter. That's a funny name. November 20th, 1969. This is a KJV, of course, here. King James. Oh yeah, don't forget to look at the publishers. Publishers are very important for this video. So really quickly, this one was minted by the Royal Crown. Also, of course, Hendrickson Publishers. Let's look at these guys for a second. Where's their publishers? International Bible Society, same publishers of this Bible right here. All right. Of course, I've got 4 King James because I'm just that guy. King James, unlike these two, which I'll show you in a minute, is actually quite definite. Like, it doesn't matter what generation you're in, it's going to say exactly the same words. Oh yeah, that publisher's a very nice one. I've actually got a couple more Bibles, by the way. My mother gifted them to me. Very sweet of her. By Thomas Nelson Publishers. These guys are very good. But either way, it's all King James. And The Sefer by Stephen Pidgeon. I don't treat this with as much respect as I treat these, for the sole purpose that I'm more familiar with these. And there's a little bit of something in there that I'm a bit concerned about, which I'll also show in this video on why translation matters. Now, the way I stack the books is mostly based on the order of which we're going to read them and the order of modernity, minus these two. So you got the 1611, right? Penned by King James and his translators, alongside with, a few other Protestants. You've got this one from 69. You've got this one. I don't quite remember, but it's definitely younger than 1969 and 1611. And this one is definitely brand spanking new. My mom got this one for me at a bookstore. Like, brand spanking new, literally. Well, originally she wanted to give it to my grandmother. And then this one. This one is the Millennium Edition. For those of you who already know the Sefer, you know that this is definitely, it's been out for a little while, but it's new compared to at least these 3. So, my problem with this, we're going to turn to Matthew chapter 9, okay? For reference, I'm just going to pull out, we're going to have this one on the side for a bit, the blue one. I'll show it to you in a minute, though. We're going to compare it with the most modern King James translation that I know. It's not going to be the brown one, though. That one is also a special one. But, just a plain Jane. Doesn't even have red lettering like this. And we're going to go to Matthew chapter 8. I'm going to show you why I'm a bit picky with Bible translations. And trust me, I used to be that guy in the beginning of my walk. Every Bible says the same thing. But I was extremely wrong. Extremely. Here we go, chapter 9. So we've got chapter 9 here. If you want to pause it and read it yourself. Of course, if you have your own, you may. Okay. But we're going to start from the very beginning. Starting with the NLT. Okay. Jesus heals a paralytic. Basically, someone sick with being paralyzed, but you'll find out later that that's not actually going to the full extent. It's leaving out details. Of course, by the way, I will mention y'all that Jesus is not the real name. That's actually the Hellenistic translation of it. If you don't know, Hellenistic, the Hellenes were basically the Greeks, which kind of makes sense because this whole thing, the New Testament, you'll find a lot of copies in Greek. But under one name in heaven shall you be saved. So it's not this number. It's not this one. Trust me. It's not. It's actually somewhere along the lines of Yahusha or something like that. Now, that's the only thing I can agree with in the Sefer. That's the more original translation with the names coming from the direct Hebrew source. Now, can I verify that? No. I'm just a guy who studies at home. But I do plan on verifying that sooner or later. Anyways, for now, because we know that this is more or less Hellenized, Greek, not exactly Hebrew, which actually started with Iesus, which then turned into, from the Greek, which then went to, in the Latin Vulgate, Iesus, I-E-S-U-S, which then, some years later, with King James and the French creating the letter J, they said Jesus. Anyways, it's not Jesus, it's Yahusha. At least for now. So please forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's the closest thing to accurate I've got. Yahusha stepped into a boat, crossed over, and came to his own town. Some men brought to him a paralytic, lying on a mat. When Yahusha saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, son, your sins are forgiven." At this, some of the teachers of the law said to themselves, "This fellow is blaspheming." Knowing their thoughts, Yahusha said, "Why do you entertain evil thoughts in your hearts? Which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." Then he said to the paralytic, "Get up, take your mat, and go home." And the man got up and went home. When the crowd saw this, they were filled with awe, and they praised God. Which, by the way, another thing that Stephen Pidgeon gets right is the word God is actually from the Old Testament Gad, G-A-D. It's just spelled with an O the way you're supposed to pronounce it. Because apparently the old pagans, even though it was spelled Gad in English, they pronounced it God, like God. So, funny thing. Anyways, according to my sources, his real name is Yahuwah, based on the Tetragrammaton. Well, it's more like Yahuwah, which I'll get to in a minute. Who had given such authority to men? Okay. Now we've got this. Let me just put the page of chapter 8 right under here so it stays open. And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. Okay, now remember something. Nazareth wasn't just a town. Hold on, where is it? It wasn't just a town. It was an actual city. More pedestrian, less countryside. It was a port city. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy. If you don't know what the cerebral palsy is, it's when half of your body, generally the left or the right side, is more paralyzed, can't actually move it. And some people have cerebral palsy where their legs, where their calves are always activated, so they're always on their toes. So that's a bit different from just being a completely paralyzed someone. All right. But back to continue. Now, I know this sounds like nitpicking, but let me tell you something. Little details matter. It's like pennies in a jar. They build up, especially over the course of time. All right, so hold on. Behold, they brought him, man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Yahusha, seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee. A little bit differently than take heart, son. Now, don't get me wrong, they both say the same thing at the end of the day, but it's the delivery of the message. Again, sounds like nitpicking, but hey, if you go and say to a man, Sir, your son has just died today, and you just put it that simply, it's still going to deliver the same message, but if you deliver it, look, the Bible is a record meant to be purely based on what the person said. Now, don't get me wrong, son, be of good cheer, and son, take heart, even though they're the same thing. He did not say take heart. He said be of good cheer, be happy. Now, again, sounds like nitpicking, but hey, over the course of hundreds of years, if you keep flip-flopping between good cheer and take heart, the message is in the Bible is therefore going to be corrupt. It's not going to be a pure translation. After all, this is a translation of real historical events. And back to that example, if you say, Sir, your son has died in a battle, or Sir, an enemy killed him with a spear, or whatever, it's gonna hit a bit different. Because one's more describing it one way, one's describing it another way. But I'm sorry, taking up too much of your time. And behold, certain of the scribes said within themselves, This man blasphemes. According to this one, it's just teachers of the law, but, same thing anyways, right? Except the thing about the King James versus the NLT is that every single King James from the 1611 where is it? Right here. From the 1611 to the 769 to this one to that one say the exact same lines. Whereas these two, although being some years apart, change it up a bit. And I'll show you that in a bit. And behold, certain of the scribes said within themselves, This man blasphemes. And Yahusha, knowing their thoughts, said, Wherefore think ye evil in your hearts? Not where do you entertain evil? Why? Why are you thinking evil? For whether is it easier to say, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Arise and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. Then saith he to the sick of the palsy, Arise, take up thy bed, and go into thine house. And he arose and departed to his house. But when the multitude saw it, not just the crowd, because remember, this was talking about a crowd. A crowd could be anywhere from 10 to 50, maybe even 100 people. But the multitudes is very different. It's like crowds. Like crowd, but multiple crowds. The multitudes. When the multitudes saw it, they marveled and glorified Yahuwah, which had given such power unto men. All right. Now we're going to get to the next section here. Of course, if you want to, I'll just read it for you. As Yahushua went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told them, and Matthew got up and followed him. While Yahushua was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Yahushua said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what that means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Okay? So that is 9 through 12 here. Now we're going to go through 9 through 12 here. Okay? "And as Yahushua passed forth from thence, he saw a man named Matthew, sitting at the receipt of custom." Basically, the place where taxes are collected. Probably a booth. "And he said unto him, Follow me. And he arose and followed him. And it came to pass, as Yahushua sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, Why eateth your master with publicans and sinners?" Note, not just teacher, because don't get me wrong, teachers do have dominion over you, but they don't have as much as to say your master. See what I mean? It's already 3 or 4 inconsistencies. Less than 1 chapter. "But when Yahushua heard it, he said unto them, They that be whole or healthy need not a physician, but they that are sick. But go you and learn what that meaneth. I will have mercy and not sacrifice, for I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." Okay? Now we're going to start back here, NLT. Okay? Yahushua questioned about fasting. Then John's disciples came and asked him, "How is it that we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" And Yahushua answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them?" So this is an analogy of the marriage, okay? Of a marriage. Basically saying, how is it that the friends of the bridegroom, okay? So when you're in a marriage, sort of like, your friends getting married, you can't hang out as much anymore. They have a wife and kids now. They've got less time for you. So yeah, it's sort of like a mourning, okay? So what he's saying is, how can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? How can they mourn while he's with them? Why not celebrate? Enjoy the last, times they can really have a lot of fun before he gets married. Time will, hold on, I'm sorry, this little page. Time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and then they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth of an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. Neither do men pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved. So before we go to verse 18 real quick, because that's another inconsistency this has compared to the KJV. Okay? Here. And Yahushua said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber, mourn, as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them. Then shall they fast. No man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment. For that which is put in to fill it up takes from the garment, makes it look ugly. And the rent is made worse. The tear is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runs out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. Okay? So over here it's talking about wineskins. Over here it's talking about bottles. Again, little details, but they're really adding up. They really are. And look, we haven't even gone on to chapter 10 yet. We're barely on verse 18. Of course, if you want to read the rest, because it's already a 20-minute video, it's pretty long. It's the NLT, okay? So go ahead and just pause this and read this. Now go ahead and, hold on, let me just go from here. Just pause this, okay. And read. Okay, because I'm telling you guys, there's a few differences. Now, really quickly, back on Yahuwah, which is really Yahuwah, the Tetragrammaton and the Hebrew names, the translators of the King James 1611 actually snuck it in there in Genesis chapter 22, I think. Hold on. Let me go get it. Of course, we'll show that in a bit. Okay? But real quick, let me go ahead to the good old King James 1611. Yeah, and it's also kind of like a time traveling feel. Okay, guys, trust me. It's like a time traveling feel. Like, whoa, what is this? So this is chapter 14, because X is 10, each I is 1. I should know I have 2 I's after my last name. Okay, that's chapter 9. Wait, what? No, that's chapter 15. Yeah, the pages here are thin. That's chapter 16, chapter 17. Okay, chapter 17. 18. 19. Yeah, I know, right? 19, because 9 is like I and X. Chapter 20. Chapter 22, verse 14. And Abraham called the name of that place Yahuwah Jireh, as it is said, to this day in the mount of Yahuwah shall it be seen. It shall be seen. Which also does mean, by the way, Jireh means Yahuwah will provide. Now, isn't that funny? How the Tetragrammaton, the 4 letters, YHUH, right, is found all over the New Testament. I mean, the Old Testament, sorry. And every time where it says Lord, which is another title for Baal, by the way, I'll have to go ahead, get Strong's biblical concordance with that and other things, because I've seen videos of it on YouTube. But Yahuwah, that's how you pronounce the Tetragrammaton. And this was done by the whole infallible name, you shall not say the name of your creator, passed down by the Pharisees. Get it? By the religious scribes of those days. And I guess by the time 1611 came around, they kind of agreed. They're like, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't say his name because of that false doctrine. But still, someone managed to slip his real name in there. Whoever it is, I am very grateful to you. And again, I also found this little verse through YouTube, because trust me, I would never have found it on my own. Okay? So there's that. Okay? Now you got to think about what is their mission in translating these books? Well, the King James has been historically a mission of devout, well, I wouldn't necessarily say religion, but the King James Version has always been devout in giving you the pure and unadulterated word of the Almighty. And, I'll demonstrate that between these 4 King James books, which are definitely, different years and translations, as compared to these newer alternatives, like the New International Versions, which in many instances are different from each other as compared to the King James. Now, really quickly, let me show you what I mean. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 9. Real quick, let's go on the big one first. Matthew chapter 9. It's Leviticus, Chronicles, Ezra, Malachi. I think it's after Malachi. Like maybe. Yeah, Matthew. Okay, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking through the camera there. All right, that's chapter 6. All right, here we go. Chapter 9. Now let's go back here because I noticed a little inconsistency between the two. So let me see real quick. Chapter 9. Stepped in the boat, crossed, came over to his own. Sorry, that was my watch. Let me fix that. Sorry. Stepped into a boat, crossed over, and came into his own town. Some men brought to him a paralytic lying on a mat. Does that one say mat? Hold on. Yeah, that one also says mat. Okay. When faith take our son is forgiven, it's time. Teachers of the law said to themselves, "This fellow is blaspheming." Knowing their thoughts, just said, "Why do you entertain evil thoughts in your heart?" Which Jesus say. I'm trying to look for it because I remember spotting it earlier before making this video. Hold on. I know I spotted it earlier. Let me see if I can't spot it again. Well, you know what? Even if I don't find it, you can definitely find it for yourself by just pausing in the video. So real quick. Text, click this booth, follow me. And trust me, I really am trying to look. I just don't really remember where I found the contradiction between these two NIVs. Sorry, not NLTs. Jeez. NIVs. Jeez, I had a dentist moment, didn't I? You know, when you got a dentist, your name's John, but he calls you Jim. He's been doing it for so many years. Like, oh, God, it's one of those. To be honest, I think it was with this story right here. I'm not too sure. But I definitely do welcome you to find it because this video is getting a bit long. Okay, and personally, I don't want to take up more than 30 minutes, but clearly that's not going to happen. But if you read between the pictures, the video of the scriptures of these two, you'll notice a big difference. Well, not a big difference, sorry, but you'll notice a tiny. That's the funny thing, too, about when you get in the world of translations, especially outside the King James, you'll notice that there's a lot of tiny differences that seem insignificant, but, you know, just like pennies, those suckers add up. Trust me. Okay. Well, of course, I'm going to keep those, find more instances like that, show you. But now you've got what I'm going to show you from King James. Don't worry, we'll get to the suffer in a bit. Why it is the most trusted Bible in the world. And that is the simple fact that these guys literally do not change a single word. They keep it, except for, of course, other translations like the New King James, they'll change it to modern English, but, still, they try their best to keep the words exactly the same. Now, the thing about translators is, again, you got to think about their mission, you got to think about their purpose. This is a literal grand study Bible. Like, this thing, it's got all these references, got extra info about places in Jerusalem. I definitely recommend it. Sadly, it is expensive. I'm not gonna lie to you. Freaking $100. Yeah. It's more of like one of those. It's like not exactly like, but it's like Strong's Concordance mixed with maps and pictures and fun facts. But like not those kiddie fun facts, real fun facts. That kind of makes this one unique. Here. Just take you back to chapter 9. Oh, this is one of my favorite chapters, chapter 9. It really is. Like, I'm not even saying it talk, it really is. Oh yeah, it even gives you little backgrounds on characters of the Bible. So let's just read the first 2 verses, and then we'll go on from there. Healing a man with the palsy. And he entered into a ship and passed over, and came into his own city. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Yahusha, seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee. Okay, we know that one. Of course, you know what's in here, but hey, I want to show you guys, mostly for bragging rights, that the King James is a really good Bible. Here. Feel free to press pause. Okay. Now let's read from the 1611. This one's going to be a bit more difficult because unlike these more modern Bibles with page numbers, I've looked everywhere on these pages. I cannot find a page number. I can only find the book and the chapter. And of course, a little thing kind of showing you what is the subject. Oh yeah, by the way, one of the best chapters that you'll find is chapter 37 of Ezekiel, the Valley of Dry Bones. Check it out. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's Nahum. Oh yeah, it's got the original misspelling right there. V's for U's. So it's kind of like a time travel. Oh shoot, I overshot. St. Mark, St. Matthew, chapter 27. See? 27. Let me go a bit further. That's chapter 22. It's chapters. Hold on. 16. Chapter 18. Chapter 7. So yeah. Chapter 8. Just one more. Wait, what? No, that's chapter 8. Yeah, sorry. Wait, no, that's chapter 14. Damn, what the heck? Chapter 13. Oh, that's where I got confused. It's chapter 11. Sorry. Chapter 10, which means this year it's going to be chapter 9. IX is 9. And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. And yeah, of course, this one's got misspelling. Certain Bibles have certain characteristics. You've got the good old plain Jane and beautiful. This one happens to be waterproof. You've got the traditional with the misspelling, one of the more original works. You've got a full-blown study Bible. You've got another one that's a study Bible with a concordance. That one's nice. But here. And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Yahusha, seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee. That's just one such instance. I'll show you guys another. But real quick, just to prove a point. Mind you, these are from different eras, supposed to be, right? St. Mark. Sorry, let me just bring this one up here. Got Mark. Oh, here we go. Matthew 9. Where's 9? There we go. And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. And behold, they brought to him a man sick of the palsy, lying on a bed. And Yahusha, oh yeah, this one's also got self-pronunciation helping, like G-E, and that one's got sus to show that's another vowel, like not vowel. Yeah, I think it's vowel. I don't know. I'm not a scholar either. Seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins forgiven thee. Now here, I'll give you guys a whole good look, because I'm doing this on my phone, of 9 to 12 from each translation. Okay? Well, sorry, not a translation of each Bible because they're all the same. Except this one's got red letters. This one's also got some sort of red letters, but these two don't. Still, the translation is utterly the same. Literally. It's utterly the same. Like they all say the same things. And that's the beauty about them. Is that no matter which generation of this you read, they say the same words. And of course, this, I'm going to turn the page so really quickly. Just turn the page. And there you go. Now, there's of course other reasons I trust King James, and that's because, well, you see, I grew up with Gideons. There's nothing against Gideon, believe me. I like Gideon. Even Gideon Bibles come from the King James Version. If you don't believe me, go to your local church if they still got them, because I remember going to church, and well, any church really, and they always had them, but probably not anymore. Go to a real church where they encourage you to read your Bible, and they have serious Bible study, and you'll find there in the pews, generally they'll have something like the King James, because, again, very trustworthy compared to these guys or some others, and even this. But generally you'll find there, for new readers of the Bible, to be Gideon Bibles. Now, again, Gideon Bibles says right there by the title pages, derived from the King James Version. Let me just kind of put it sideways for you. From the King James Version. Okay? Of course, don't believe me, do your own research on it. Do the whole Protestant movement thing. If you want to, study Greek and Hebrew. Totally encourage it, dude, because, you just can't get enough truth. You really can't. Not enough time to fall for a false doctrine. Especially not in our short lives. Geez, 1 year is only 365 days. That's not a lot. Not a lot. Especially considering most people, when they die of old age, live anywhere between 80 and 100. Some, very fortunate, live up to 120. Now, real quick on the Sefer. I can appreciate all the original Hebrew sort of transliterated. I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the titles. Here, let me get you to a page. But there is something in here that I am concerned about. Now, real quick, this thing also has the Apocrypha, and it's large print, which is why it's a thick boy. But here, I can appreciate this. I really can appreciate this. And I can appreciate them actually using it in the scripture. Okay? But it's one thing I don't appreciate. It's little additions like this. Hold on. Let me find it real quick. Acts. Let me find Acts. I'm telling you, this book's a big book. Samuel, 2 Kings. It's got other ones in there. The prophets, Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. Now, I don't know how true this is, to be honest. But if it is true, which is another reason why I actually want to study Paleo-Hebrew, then, kudos to Dr. Pigeon. Joel, the book of Joel. You've got Habakkuk, Psalms, Ecclesiastes, 2 Chronicles, 4th Ezra, 2nd Esdras, the Maccabim, the Maccabees. Now, don't get me wrong, the Maccabees, they have been found to be really real people, but I've got no comment at this time, considering I have not studied enough to tell you. Of course, we've got 4 Maccabees, but this is the part that concerns me. is when I go to the book of Acts. Okay, now real quick, I'm just going to grab the top Bible and show you what I mean. The book of Acts. That's what concerns me here. The Acts of the Apostles. All right, let's go to the very last chapter. Okay, here we go. Chapter 29. Okay, chapter 29, Acts of the Apostles. Now let's go to the 69 Bible. Oh yeah, it's also got a zipper, good for travel and whatnot. Thoughtful. And look, there's beautiful red parts on the pages. Just lovely. Oh yeah, by the way, that goes on the bottom too. But, the concerning part about it is, hold on. If you want to leave now, you can, but I promise you're not going to want to miss this. Let me just go find it. So right after that's Romans. So, chapter 28, 115. 117 is right after Romans. Wait a minute, hold on. There's no chapter 29. But here there is. There's probably other inconsistencies, but I'll explain them as I go, if I find them. Now let's go to the tried and true 1611. The same stuff they printed in 1611. I mean, come on. It's got that gorgeous front cover page. And I mean, that's gorgeous. It's got good old-fashioned table of contents, even though you can't really read it. It's got a 50-page sort of introduction to the book of the English translators, all that other good stuff, the history, the holy days. Where do you think we get the word holiday from? Catholic Church, of course. That really sucks, though, because those people freaking pagans, man. Like, for reals. Now, it is sad. Don't get me wrong. I do feel sad for the Catholics who really think that they're going to heaven. They really think they're following the Almighty. But let's face it, man. Freaking Catholicism, or aka Christianity, did not abolish paganism. Basically, the whole, we'll worship a god for this and for that. Think of the Egyptians, the Babylonians, their religions. Think of the Norse people, how they had their gods, right? Like, literally, they had gods for freaking fertility, like the Romans did. Fertility, aka reproduction. And those people, when they were celebrating those particular holidays, they weren't celebrating children at all. They were actually sacrificing children. But I'll explain that later, okay? And that is some sick, twisted garbage right there. And that's also going to tie into chapter 29, by the way. Which, by the way, even the 1611, hold on, does not possess. See? The Epistle Paul to the Romans. That's this page, okay? I'm going to try to get this here. Look, I want you to see that. I want you to see how the markings there showing that that's Paul to the Romans. You can barely see Romans right there. Okay? Do you know what the last chapter here says? 2 X's. Let me break it down to you. Every time you see an X in Roman numerals, that's 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. V is 5. And, of course, do your research. V is 5, so that's 25 plus 3. It's 25 plus 3, everybody. 28. There's no chapter 29. In the oldest version of the most trusted Bible in the world, there is no chapter 29 in the book of Acts. Now, the reason why I mentioned paganism again is because this mentions essentially Paul accepting Druids because of their Jewish origins as a sort of respected branch of Christianity. And that, what's his name? Pontius Pilate, the one who allowed the crucifixion of our Savior, apparently threw himself off the same hill that he was standing on in Spain. Now here's the funny part, y'all. When you read Romans, what? These guys get rid of Romans? No, there's no way. Hold on. No, they probably just misplaced Romans. Hold on. Let me look for it. No, they definitely misplaced Romans because Romans is supposed to be right after that. Let me see. No, they have to have it in here somewhere. 1 Peter, Gospel of John. Hold on. Let me look for it. They've got Ephesians, Corinthians, Galatians, Romans. All right, here we go. Yeah. So they did misplace it. But here's the thing. When you actually read through the book of Romans on your own time, okay, book of Romans, you'll notice how he is desired to visit Rome. And if you actually study the writings of Paul, you'll find that he never actually got to Spain. So how is this, the book of Acts, on a chapter that does not exist in the most trusted Bible in the world, or any other translation for that matter that I know of, okay, claims that he went to Spain. Here, let me read it out to you. Let me just put these beautiful guys back. Remember, another cool thing about reading the Bible is you got to think like a law student, okay? Matter of fact, with anything, big advice to you for worldly purposes, for spiritual purposes, I mean real spiritual purposes in terms of your transformation, you've got to think like a law student. For anything, for accounting, you've got to think of it for managerial purposes, like managing your children, managing your finances, your household, etc. Reading the Bible, discerning the doctrines that are true from the Almighty, because even the apostles warned of this in their epistles in the New Testament in general, and the doctrines that are false, the doctrines of devils. Just read the 4 Gospels in the epistles. Try the epistle James, I think it was. I'll review that later. But try the epistle James and you'll see exactly what I mean. Paul, full of the blessings of Messiah, and abounding in the Ruach HaKodesh, departed out of Rome, determining to go into Spain, for he had long time purposed to journey thitherward, and was minded also to go from thence into Britain. That's a bit fishy because, again, if you read the book of Romans, the epistle of Romans, Paul is saying how he has purposed to go to Rome, but just not able to make it. Now, could this really happen? He probably did go to Rome eventually, did go to Spain, probably did want to go to England. But I don't trust this chapter simply because it does not exist in any other translation. And quite frankly, what it says is disturbing because someone here mentions druids and other things. Druids are an occult, by the way. Basically pagans. We had heard in Phoenicia, Greece basically, that certain of the children of Israel, about the time of captivity into the land of Ashur, had escaped by the sea to the isles far off. Now that's funny. If the Christian persecution was already happening, the last place they'd want to go is Rome, because the Romans were the ones killing them. Research your history, y'all. And Yahuwah commanded the Besorah, don't know what that is, to be preached from far hence. Hold on, sorry, got some pop-ups here. Far hence to the other nations, and to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And no man hindered Paul. That's weird. You don't say Paul like that. But okay, next. It's like Paal. That's funny. If you switched that P, like literally upside down, that would say Baal. But outside of that, because seriously, if you spell B-A-A-L, the same idol they were worshiping in Exodus 20, I think it was, when Moses threw down the Ten Commandments, said you are not worthy, They were worshiping Baal, and it's spelled Baal. I just find that funny because that's not how you spell Paul. You spell Paul as Paul, not Pa, the little thing right there, which is also familiar when you're spelling ball, Al. But anyway, speculation, continue. For he testified boldly of Yahusha before the tribunes, and among the people he took with him certain of the brethren which abode with him at Rome, and they took shipping at Ostium, and have the winds fair, were brought safely into a haven of Spain, and many of the people were gathered from the towns and villages in the hill country, where they had heard of the conversion of the apostle, and the many miracles which he had wrought. Now, the funny thing about Spain is if you look at them, they're the ones who always come up with the most demonic stuff. I mean it. Look at Pan's Labyrinth. Look at some of their traditions throughout history. I'm telling you, like Spain, I get why they'd want to preach in Spain, but the fact that they all came to him, I don't know, just wondering, it's iffy. And Paul preached mightily in Spain, and great multitudes believed and were converted, for they perceived he was an apostle sent from Elohim. The other thing is, this is strange land. Okay? Strange land who was under the pagan rule of the Roman Empire. Wait, hold on, Spain. Wait, no, sorry. I got that mixed up. It probably is, though. Probably is. Preached mightily in Spain. Great. All right, you know what? No, sorry. That was me. And they departed out of Spain, and Paul and his company, finding a ship in Armorica, sailed unto Britain. They went therein, and passing along the south coast, they reached a port called Raffinus. Yeah, strange English name. Not. Now when it was noised abroad that the apostle had landed on their coast, great multitudes of the inhabitants met him. And they treated Paul, again, funny name to spell, like that, courteously, meaning sort of like courtier, sort of like, like when you're courting somebody, when you're talking to someone, trying to befriend them. And he entered in at the east gate of their city, and lodged in the house of an ivory and one of his own nation. And on the morrow he came and stood upon Mount Lud. And the people thronged at the gate and assembled in the broad way. Note, broad way. Mind you, it says in Scripture that narrow is the path. Narrow is the path to salvation. Okay? And broad is the path to destruction. Many go there, but few find the way to salvation, the broad way. I don't know. This whole thing's iffy. And he preached Mashiach unto them, and many believed the word and the testimony of Yahusha. Now note, if I don't personally believe this because, again, most of Europe was pagan. Very likely even parts of Spain. I'll have to look that up. But still, for real, I just don't trust this. Hold on, let me just go to the part really quickly. Of course, you could press pause. Feel free to press pause whenever you want. Okay, so verse 12 here, it's basically him iterating another part. Now, that even is him. Another part in the Bible. If you even just look at Matthew, somewhere around the later chapters, after 10, you'll find Yahusha saying that. Alright. Oh, peacemaking. Hold on, where is it? Hold on. And a king shall rise up, and his sword shall be for the healing of the nations, and his peacemaking shall abide, and the glory of his kingdom a wonder among princes. Here's the thing, that actually goes against doctrine, because it again says somewhere in Matthew, later chapters, that Yahusha himself said, I did not come to bring peace, but the sword, that I might divide the sheep from the goats, good from evil. That he might divide the children of the devil from the children of Yahuwah. And let's face it, there are some evil people out there who are the children of the devil. They are the tares in the fields, which you will read of if you read the New Testament. Certain Druids came unto Paul privately and showed by their rites and ceremonies they were descended from the Yahudim. Wait a minute, hold on. The Druids, who are pagans, came to Paul privately and showed by their rites and ceremonies, things like Easter, which, believe it or not, are pagan. Don't believe me? Look up the Truth Unedited. Very good channel. They were descended from the Yahudim, from the Creator. Wait, what? So you're telling me that these Druids who are pagans, they worship other gods, basically breaking the most important commandment. Sorry, not the most important commandment, breaking the second. Yeah, they're breaking the first and second commandments there. Came unto Paul privately and showed him by their rites and their ceremonies that they were descended from Paul's God, from our Almighty. Really? They'd be worshiping freaking Ishtar and the rest of their pagan gods, which is, by the way, if you look at certain concordances and dictionaries like Strong's, well, maybe not Strong's, but again, look at the Truth Unedited, look at other videos like that, you'll find that this Ishtar is actually the same from the Queen of Heaven, which is mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 7, and of the two Babylons, written by a certain man. I don't remember his name, but if you want to, you can check out the videos I left in my playlists. Just check them out. Seriously, it is just amazing to me. Now, of course, if, again, you want to pause this on this essentially non-existent scripture, this is a fake, very clearly. And this one also mentions, by the way, that Pontius Pilate threw himself off a cliff, and that basically Yahusha had forgiven him because he washed his hands clean of his sin. How true is that? I kind of doubt it, because as the governor, it is he is the reason why an innocent man was wrongfully convicted, which is a wrong thing, By the way, Yahuwah has written his law into every single one of our hearts, and for us to say something is wrong universally, as a whole world, throughout all the generations, such as letting an innocent man die on a cross and letting him be wrongfully convicted, literally just handing him over to his enemies, is evil. And that supposedly Pilate threw himself off a cliff, when if you look at his death, it's actually conspicuous. It's mysterious. You get no definite terms whatsoever. Anyways, y'all, this is why translation matters, because you can wind up getting something like this, chapter 29, or like the Latin Vulgate, or the Catholic Bibles, which I also do not trust, because let's face it, the Catholics did indeed adopt paganism. If you look at the whole Mother, Father, Son, God, you could very clearly go to, not Exodus, you can go to Genesis and read up on Nimrod, who married his mother. And his mother, by the way, was a big prostitute. Again, going to Ishtar, about Queen of Heaven thing. And so anyways, her son dies, who she married. Ew. But the second thing is that after he dies, so that she keeps power and she's not usurped, she makes up this whole mystery religion of, oh, my husband, her son, came and made himself reincarnated in my womb through my son. Very likely she very clearly did that. That did not happen. She freaking screwed somebody, probably killed them, so there's no witnesses. Because, evil people are like that. And, yeah. Again, Truth Unedited, check them out. Check out the playlists at my channel. And, I'm sorry you guys had to wait so long.